Jumping to number 13. This is an absolute value equation. However, it's very similar to the vertex form parabolas that we've been graphing. What is a vertex form equation? It's y equals a parentheses x minus h squared plus k. The only difference in this case is that you don't have the parentheses, you have absolute values, and you don't have a square on it. So you really do have y equals, now this a value in the front, it's kind of like your slope, because this is not a quadratic equation. That's not a parabola. It doesn't have an x squared, so it's not a U-shaped curve. It's actually a line. It kind of looks like y equals mx plus b. So the m is kind of like in front of your absolute value. And then you have the x minus h, and then the plus k at the very end. Okay? So what would your vertex be of number 13a? What would your vertex be? It would be negative 2, comma 0, because there is no k value, right? So for this guy, if you go to negative 2, 0, that'll be your most important point. So let's go to negative 2, 0. That's the most important point. Now, what is the slope? What is the slope? The value, the a value, which is really the m value in this case. It's 1. So from this point, is this positive or negative? Positive, so it's going up. So it's going to go up 1 over 1. Up 1 over 1. Up 1 over 1. So it's going to be like that. And in the other direction, since it's an absolute value, it has to go back up. So it's going to be the same slope, but in the other direction. It's kind of like a parabola. It has the reflection line, but it's not a U-shaped curve. It's an actual V. You guys remember that? We've done this before. I hope so. And this boils down to you really understanding the H and K shift. That's what it boils down to if you understand the H and K shift. H, you have to think opposite. K is the number out here. H ends up being a left-right shift, right? So if I told you what is the graph of y is the absolute value of x, well, that on an xy plane is just going to be a regular V, but with the vertex 0, 0. Does that make sense? This guy right here, does that make sense? Okay. So if you do have an H, then the V is going to get shifted maybe to the left or maybe to the right, but you got to think opposite on H. And if you have a K, that's going to be an up and down shift. Let's take a look at this next one over here, 13B. Let me move this out of the way. Let's look at 13B over here. This is still an H shift. So where's my V going to be at? What's the vertex going to be at? Positive 2 and 0. Okay, so if you go to positive 2 and 0, and again you have the slope 1 over 1, so it's going to be up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, and also in the other direction, up 1 over 1 in the other direction. So what do we have? We have a V with that vertex. Bless you. Let's compare it to this next one. Is this an H shift or a K shift? It's a K shift. What's your vertex? 0, negative 2. So if you go to the vertex 0, negative 2, you're at this dot right here. From that dot, you still have the same slope, up 1 over 1. So up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1. And you reflect it, since it is a vertex, you reflect it on the other side of your axis of symmetry, up 1 over 1 this way, like that. And you have your graph. And as you could see, the V that should have been at the origin, if it didn't have an H or K, got shifted down 2 units. So these questions on the final are actually pretty easy. All you got to do is really understand H and K, and understand also that an absolute value equation produces a V. Okay? It's really a line, but then it bounces back up. Similar to a parabola, but it's not a U-shaped curve. So what's the vertex here? 0 what? 0, 2. So you go 0, 2 on the y. There it is. Is this opening up or down? Up. And what's your slope? Up 1 over 1. Up 1 over 1. Up 1 over 1. Then you do the same on the other side of the axis of symmetry. So up 1 over 1 this way. Graph your v. You're done. The k shift, obviously being positive 2, shifted the original v from the origin 2 units up.